Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please go ahead, click on subscribe, and also click on the bell to receive all the updates and notifications on my channel. Also, check me out on Instagram. There will be a link in the description that will bring you out to my Instagram page. I've been posting updates on the XCR, the XC, and everything else, and more than likely there will be updates on Instagram before you'll see them on YouTube. I'll still post, the content, but, because of editing and everything else, it'll be on Instagram sooner before it goes to YouTube. All right, so about 24 hours later, we're starting Project XCR Mod Sled, I guess we'll call it. Started the tear down of the Indy Trail. Pulled the suspension out this morning. That came out pretty easily. Got the track lying on the floor. Did run into one issue with the suspension. One of the bolts in the front torque arm cross shaft was completely seized. I ended up cutting it out with an angle grinder just so I could drop the skid out. And we have the skid up on the bench waiting to be gone through and checked over and everything else. But initial impressions, everything looks okay on it. I didn't see any cracked torque arms or anything like that. Bearings initially look pretty good on all the bogies and idlers, so we're looking pretty good on that. Spent the last 20 minutes removing all the supporting plates for the suspension out of the donor sled, because since we are doing a suspension swap between the front and the back, we are taking everything out of the donor that we can while we have it here. Okay. Went ahead and removed the chain case. We got it draining of all its dirty oil and grit and everything else. Got all the gear sets and everything else kind of scattered all over the place. There's the back half of the chain case that pretty much came out with no issues. Got some more of the gears right there. So, got to put that back together before I forget where everything went. For those of you may be wondering, I didn't document any of the steps that's necessary to remove the track and suspension out of a Polaris sled. I have probably like two or three of these documented on my channel already. So if you're interested, there will be a link on that process to do that. Again, I didn't want to spend any time on that, on stuff I've already covered. It's readily available. So the next step at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the all the radius arms, the tie rod ends, the sway bar, and everything else. I'm going to also remove the trailing arms from the Indy Trail. I'm going to try reusing the ones on the XCR, because everything I've read online, they say you can use the existing stock trailing arms on the XCR without having to remove them. And the reason I want to try that first is because of the trailing arm bolt. I've seen horror stories online when people go try to remove them. They are completely seized in the footwell mount, and it just leads into a lot of issues. So if we can try saving those before we open up a can of worms, we're going to try that before going down that road. So wish me luck. And what we'll do is, we'll use the Indy Trail as a guinea pig and see how that process goes. All right, so for the most part, it's going pretty well. Primary and secondary look pretty good. Removed the belt off of that, took the exhaust off. As we were working on this, I think we discovered something. So when we first did the introduction on this, you could see that the sled ran into something. There's a chunk out of the hood missing. One of the side panels is cracked. It's zipped together with zip ties in some aspects. And then looking at it, the footwell is also mangled as well. It took a pretty good shot. I'm actually kind of surprised that the trailing arm mount isn't distorted. I don't know how the footwell mount got mangled and the trailing arm location is in good shape. I'm not sure. But as we were working on this, I think we discovered why this thing crashed. And my wife actually noticed this. So if we look, there are two foot traction mounts, whatever you want to call them, and we'll zoom in. What do you see? That's an Articat logo. There's another one. there's these foot traction cleats made from Articat. So I think we discovered why this Polaris went off the trail and hit a tree, because it's got Articat components on it. That's got to be it, right? So, all right, anybody that owns an Articat, it's just a joke, you know. So take it easy. All right. So what we're gonna do at this point, we're gonna finish the teardown of the Indy Trail, and then we're gonna move on to the swap on the XCR, and really that's where the meat of the documentation is gonna occur. You know, how do you measure? How do you mount the support brackets? You know, what do you do to swap out the radius rods, the sway bar, the shocks, and everything else? So we'll go from there. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box. Again, check me on Instagram to see updates. And I hope everybody is having a good day. I'll talk to you later.